he valued curiosity over career. And not saying that he disregarded his career. I just think that he understood that his curiosity supported his career. He followed problems. He turned down a lot of lucrative offers in favor of having the creative freedom to explore the ideas he wanted. At Bell Labs, the reason why I think Bell Labs was so impactful is that they didn't hold their good players to any constraints.
Yeah.
It was like, go have fun.
Yeah.
Build things that matter.
It's an actual lab.
Yeah. Yeah. So he got a lot of benefit from there, and he enjoyed it. He was there for 15 years.
Yeah. Ayo.
What's up? What's up?
We're
Welcome back to the super secret
Founders Drive.
What's up, everybody?
We still need a theme music.
We have our play-in right
We
here.
do have the play-in, but I want
that's
like
all in like post stuff, so you never really.
I know, but I want like a full 2-minute theme song with a rock band and.
You want the JRE special?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get into it, man. Let's continue this Claude Shannon
super
discussion.
secret.
Yes, on the Super Secret Founders Drive. So Claude Shannon, we talked about his lifetime and his life, his accomplishments, his impact in the first, in the main release. But now we're talking a little bit more about his psyche, and we're talking a little bit more about our application, our core takeaways.
Yep.
And I think it would be cool to start with the idea of what communication is, because that's something that I've thought a little bit more about in recent weeks, months, years, and this being a mathematical theory on communication, I think it's the perfect opportunity to talk about this. So communication is really interesting to me because it's the backbone of it is shared space. Like a community is shared space, shared resources, shared thoughts, shared beliefs.
Right.
And when we're communicating, we're basically sharing things that we, just keeping it in line with this episode, we're sharing information.
Yeah.
We're sharing information to the group or to other people. And the idea of this mathematical theory of communication is it's talking about how do we share messages in the cleanest form without losing any information.
Yeah.
And and the flip side of that is how do we do that without introducing uncertainty? Because the opposite of information is uncertainty. So that as a framework has helped clarify one, what I'm doing, even two, with being a software engineer, what we're programming. It's just a really cool framework for just parsing and analyzing the world. Like when people are communicating, they're putting things into the shared space.
Yeah.
And so then I can start saying, okay, well, how clear is someone's message that they're putting into the shared space? Is it something that's easy for me to reconstruct? When I'm sharing something, is it something that it's easy for somebody else to reconstruct? And oftentimes people will aren't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
Thinking about that, oh, this is something that somebody else has to reconstruct. And I think oftentimes good communicators are good at disseminating messages that are really easy for people to reconstruct.
Absolutely.
So I'll pause there and we can go a little bit deeper in a second.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a skill in putting yourself in the reader's shoes and saying, okay, I'm going to say it this way. I know what I mean because I'm saying it. Do they know what I mean? Are they interpreting what I'm saying the way that I want them to interpret it? I mean, natural language is extremely finicky in terms of its meanings. Just with a slight tone inflection, you can have a radically different meaning. And so it's very important, if you want to be a good speaker, to put yourself in the reader's or the listener's shoes, and to almost walk them through what you're saying. Build it up, do it in a way that, it's not like a child, but you are almost like leaving breadcrumbs for them to follow.
Yeah.
To build either an image to build some kind of conclusion or something. I do think that another really good like narration piece is to like, you know, provide imagery,
Mm-hmm.
to describe things in visceral detail.
Mm-hmm.
And that lets you, as the reader or the listener, compile that image in your head to then get the message
so here's
across.
what's interesting.
Yeah.
We use words all the time, and they like words have so much meaning behind them that we can hear things differently based off of our understanding of that word. So an example
True.
is you say image. Sometimes people will hear image and they'll think picture,
Photo,
but image is a representation of another object or concept, which is a little bit more broad. An image can involve just the pure information representation. If you like copy
What's my brand
software,
image?
right? What's my brand image? What's my self image?
Yeah.
What's my, you know, if I'm
Yeah.
imaging a piece of software, like
Right, yeah.
like the same idea where it's like it's not just a picture.
It's not an X-ray image.
Yeah,
It's
right.
something else.
Yeah, it's exactly. So that's something where, like, you know, just adding a little bit even more context to what you're saying right there is part of it. So there's two sides to it. Is when I'm speaking to somebody, it's what am I doing to make sure that this image is received, and then on the other end of it, am I prepared to receive an image? And that's something that's big too. It's sometimes we're getting good information, good advice, but we're not prepared to receive it.
Yes.
So we miss it. It falls on deaf ears. It hits our blind spots because we can have conceptual blind spots. And so this is something that's really interesting to me, because when we think about the theory of communication in a mathematical sense and an engineering sense, it's reducing it down to the fundamentals. But there's things that we learn in those fundamental contexts that we can then take back into our daily life and use with it, use with a better understanding, communicate with a better understanding. So that's something that I think is so dope. Like, it's so dope. Like, we talk about Claude Shannon and Einstein. More people are starting to talk about them in the same breath, which I think is deserved. What's interesting is Einstein introduced this concept of relativity, and he basically said, look, we live in a relational universe, a relative universe, where the frames of reference are different. What one person sees is not what another person sees if they're first moving at different speeds.
Right.
But then he said it's also shifted based off of your position in the world and the gravitational fields. But that's what he proved in the scientific setting under strict circumstances. It still applies in our day-to-day context. It's just it just appears different. Just knowing that, oh, okay, we might not be able to show that the size of a vehicle is distorted at high speeds, but we can understand that somebody else has a different experience or relative experience, has a different experience relative to me, based off of this mathematical principle that was proven under serious rigor. I think that there's been this separation of what's proved in a lab, and it's like it only applies in the lab. It doesn't apply in real life. It does. It just plays out differently because the context is a little bit differently. But then with this theory of communication, the bridge that I'm making here is that the messages get lost over when they're in transmission, like when they're getting sent. And paying attention to that is really, really important.
Yeah. Something else that I picked up on, and maybe some of you viewers at home have picked up on, something that has happened multiple times on this show, and something that I think is a great segue into what we were just talking about, is the way that you started that entire phrase. You started that entire section with the etymology of the word. Community. And it's something that I know you do quite a bit, which is go back to the root of whatever we're talking about, or let's set up with definitions before we talk. We've done that multiple times, and it's a way of communication where it's like, hey, we're going to define these things before we start, so that we don't get to the second paragraph and it's like, wait, what does this mean again?
And you've actually had to rein me in sometimes too, where you're like, you do this in this one setting, we should do it over here too. I'm like, You're right. And it's like, so like a definition, we have to define the boundaries of what we mean when we're talking, because not everybody has the same boundaries.
Yes.
That's a principle of relativity.
Exactly.
Like somebody's frame of reference, their frame, the boundaries that they put around certain things is different than you.
100%.
And and so that's like a huge thing. He was actually another big person that was big on definitions. That's why he was
Claude Shannon.
Yeah, so that's why he was like, we need to define this information thing. Like, if we're sending, how can we get to the most quantifiable measure of what we're talking about when we say, like when we're sending like a bit of information over a noisy channel?
Right.
What do we mean by that?
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then we can, just stay the course. And again, like, just very lucid and very trusting of that exercise, because we talk about it right now, and if you're listening to this, you're probably a founder or an entrepreneur or a business person or a curious person who is like, I care about understanding and learning. But you'll also know that a lot of people don't. A lot of people will just be like, I'll change my meaning, or I meant that before, but now I mean something different, or I'm not even gonna let you know what I mean. I'm just gonna say things, and you should just get it.
Right.
There's just so many things, but I think like defining that is critical. Yeah, that's so interesting. Another thing that was really interesting to me is just his whole idea of just following his curiosities, and then his ability to simplify too is something that's really.
One of the funny stories about him following his curiosities, I believe this is when he was at MIT.
Yeah.
He went and got his like private pilot lessons, so he was out flying these small little propeller planes.
Yeah.
And the dean at one point came down to the flight instructor and was like, "Hey, you might want to think about not letting him do this anymore, because he's one of the smartest minds we have in the entire history of human kind." And so, like, maybe just stop taking up on these freaking planes.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, bro, don't. We can't risk that.
Yeah, I don't think he listened, but it was so important that the dean had to go make a statement, being like, "Hey, just double take here, make sure that you want to do this." Yeah,
that's so interesting. I mean, that's the magnitude of what he did. There's also this thing where he was going to when the draft came, he was like, I'm gonna try and get into one of the labs, because he was like, I do think I'd make a better contribution there, but I'm also pretty frail and pretty skinny, so I don't really want to go to combat.
Which, I mean, can't really blame him for. Nobody really wants to go. I mean, I guess there's some people that want to go to combat, but for a mind like his, who's intellectually stimulated in the lab, I think it's a great spot for it.
Well, I mean, he said it, and he was like, yeah, you're right. Like, you are better off being in the lab. And what he did there too, which we didn't talk about in the main episode, is he worked on cryptography.
Yes.
And making sure that the president could communicate over secure lines.
And also had the very first paper on AI, because kind of started the entire field, and so he was like, oh well, we can definitely do this autonomously.
Yeah.
And so that sets up the crazy AI era that we're in now.
Dude, just a giant.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get into some other stuff. Do you have anything else on him that you do want to touch on?
The one thing I think is fun to talk about in some of these episodes is like the time frame that he was alive, and then talk about other famous people that were alive during the same period. And we touched a lot of this in the public episode, but Alan Turing, Albert Einstein, the kinds of minds that you might think, oh my gosh, there's no way he was like Salvador Dali, same time frame. It's like some of these people that are like, no way, that was way older than that. It's like, no, this was like World War II,
not too far,
not that long ago.
Not too far back. How do you, so yes, there is the overlap of talent is phenomenal. I think there's also going to be a degree of that in our time. We're just living through it.
Yep.
So it's, do as much as you can in the moment and let, your legacy kind of play out.
Exactly.
But there's that. There's a parallel between the marketing and then the communication stuff that I really liked with Claude Hopkins and Claude Shannon.
Yeah, if you're gonna listen to any episodes, these last two back-to-back ones give you a lot of good stuff to start any good venture.
Yeah, because with Yeah, and I think going to just before we get into some of the quotes, I think that'll be a fun thing to jump into. It's communication. Like, that's communicating over a noisy channel, sharing information over a noisy channel, reducing uncertainty over a noisy channel, reducing our uncertainty in our messages is extremely important. And I think coupling that with that understanding with advertising and what's going on with artificial intelligence will set you apart. When you realize that you're communicating with a large language model and you have the understanding that you are trying to reduce uncertainty for the model, it changes things. It allows you to be the person who says, I'm going to be specific with what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to be the person who is just assuming that it's just going to, take what I want to say. But we're going to get into some quotes.
Oh yeah, let's do some quotes.
All right, so we're going to start with some quotes on the work. The fundamental problem of communication is that the reproducing at one point either exactly or approximately a message selected at another point. That was basically the opening line of, not even basically, it was the opening line of the paper. The fundamental problem of communication is that of reproducing at one point either exactly or approximately a message selected at another point. Information is the resolution of uncertainty. I just wondered how things were put together. I visualize a time when we will be to robots what dogs are to humans, and I'm rooting for the machines.
Wow, that's almost here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what people say.
He's rooting for the machines. That sounds like some kind of like Peter Thiel stuff, where it's like, does humanity need to survive?
Yeah, yeah. Or like Larry Page, when he was like, he was like, it sounds like you're a machinist, and it was like, yeah, well.
I mean, machines are better.
So then you have, on the field he founded, he said, information theory has in the last few years become something of a scientific bandwagon. Starting as a technical tool for the communication engineer, it has received an extraordinary amount of public publicity in the popular as well as the scientific press. It will be all too easy for our somewhat artificial prosperity to collapse overnight when it is realized that the use of a few exciting words like information, entropy, redundancy do not solve all of our problems. Said that in 56.
Wow.
The bandwagon.
The bandwagon.
Yeah. On his approach and on curiosity, he said, I've always pursued my interests without much regard for financial value or value to the world. I spent a lot of time on totally useless things. He said, being a scientist or engineer takes courage. You have to attack problems that other people have thought were too difficult to solve or didn't even think were problems. And then he goes, we know the past but cannot control it. We control the future but cannot know it.
I like that one.
It's a little bit of a bar.
Yeah.
On simplicity, he says, I think the act of writing things down, the act of putting your thoughts into language and committing them to a fixed medium clarifies thought in ways nothing else does.
I would agree with that.
That's interesting. I'm gonna tell you why. Ask me why.
Why?
They said he's basically talking about communication with yourself.
You know how many people lie to themselves?
How many people? I feel like we've talked about this on this platform before.
I think that we have. It's
lying to yourself.
You're lying to yourself.
You're lying to yourself.
Because you're introducing noise to yourself.
You're introducing noise to yourself.
Like, if you think about that communication channel, where's the noise at? It's in your head. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason there should be any noise there. But there is. There's a lot of noise there, actually.
We're an ecosystem. We're a system.
Yeah.
So there is communication that's happening within our system.
Yep.
Our thoughts, the way that we interpret our thoughts, how our thoughts control and send messages to the rest of our body, that's a real thing. Okay. And I think that there is, like you're saying, there's noise that can get sent across the system or that can interrupt messages that are sent across the system.
Yep.
And that can be a real problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Self-communication is big, man. It's like what you're sharing with yourself is really, really big, and I think that's continuously underestimated how much of that impacts that actually has.
Self-communication is different than self-talk. for me at least.
Okay, go on.
I would say self-talk is more like your aphorisms, you're like speaking things into existence, you're like positively identifying things that you want to be said about you.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like self-communication, there's like the hard truths that you tell yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the easy lies you tell yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all these things that are more than just me talking myself up.
Okay, so you're talking about self-talk is talking yourself up. It's like you're looking at that as like a sub category
of communication.
Communication.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah. But I do think like it's one of those things that matters. Writing things down helps you like make sure that you're not sending an unclear message.
Yeah, helps you refine it. I think it's almost impossible to know that you're sending an unclear message because it's all about the recipient, right?
But when you're the recipient with your self-talk, you have to understand yourself and know how you send messages to yourself
and receive them. Yeah.
And receive them, and that's that whole communication loop that we find ourselves in, and that's why I find that so interesting. Because when you write things down, it kind of forces you to think about what you are saying and what you're thinking about, and that allows for the message to also be received. It's like we're intervening in that loop.
Yeah.
And I think that's what can be the difference between somebody who has a healthy relationship with themselves and one that's not so healthy.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So let's go into this next one on simplicity. I think that was the one I just wrote. On investing, I'd say a lot of what people think of as the math of investing isn't doing them as much good as they think. The thing that really matters is whether the company is well managed and whether they're actually doing well. Sounds like some people.
What comes to mind for you when you hear that?
I think of Warren Buffett.
Do you really? Okay.
I think of Warren Buffett, yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, what do you think of?
I mean, my mind went to like the Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Berkshire relationship there. But I also like internally I was like, yeah, I mean, it's good to say, but I also like would care about where my money's going. you know, like I would be very curious about the details, not just are they doing well.
But I think that's what he means there. So so a lot of what people think of as the math of investing isn't doing them as much good as they think.
Like the details and stuff like that?
No, but like there's a whole technical analysis, like how did the chart fluctuate from day to day, in trying to interpret signals based off of the price fluctuations only, and not looking at who's running it, how the company's doing, the context, the more fundamental analysis, looking at the big picture, not just the mathematical models that try to infer from the picture.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like to try and get as much information as possible from any situation.
Yeah.
So it's like if there's mathematical models, let me take that in. If there's people running it, let me take that in. If there's, if I have a psychic who's telling me stock advice, let me take that in.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting with this guy. I ran into this guy. He's a hedge fund manager, managing a nice little portfolio of a few $100 million.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he goes through his investments. I was just asking him about fundraising and investing, and he was like, I do 2 deals a year.
Oh wow.
And he was like, they're like Series A. And he was like, for like the more tech investments, and then they're also buying stocks and doing stuff like that. But he was like, I'm sitting down for 9 months. I'm talking to the people. I'm trying to find out every single dollar that where is it going. He's like, I have the money for you, but it's my money and it's other people's money, and we want it back.
Yeah.
When are you going? We want it back with a multiple. When are you going to return it? How are you going to return it? And he's going through and doing his diligence. He's somebody that reads the balance sheets, looks at everything, but he's also, that's one of the components. And then it's the story. And then so when I think of this quote right here, I think of the people that are I can look at the candlestick charts and
get all my information.
And get all my information and disregarding the other stuff.
Yeah.
And then he said on touring, he said his mind ran in much the same channel as my own.
Yeah, I can see that.
He knew he was different.
Yeah.
He's like, ain't too many like me, man. He's like, I'm cut different. Call Shannon, baby.
That's some confidence right there.
And he was absolutely not like that. He was super introverted.
Right.
And he was like, I'm not trying to meet with nobody.
No.
But he valued curiosity over career. And not saying that he disregarded his career. I just think that he understood that his curiosity supported his career. He followed problems. He turned down a lot of lucrative offers in favor of having the creative freedom to explore the ideas he wanted. At Bell Labs, the reason why I think Bell Labs was so impactful is that they didn't hold their good players to any constraints.
Yeah.
It was like, go have fun.
Yeah.
Build things that matter.
It's an actual lab.
Yeah. Yeah. So he got a lot of benefit from there, and he enjoyed it. He was there for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I think you might have seen him, and that's the testament to that, he might have seen him go and start a company if he felt like he couldn't find a situation that allowed him to be creatively free. But he got that pretty early on, and there's no looking back.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people like that, there is a spot in the world where the teams operate like that, and they are trying to attract top tier talent. And so if it's not a problem that you have and somebody else has solved it, you're gonna go work for them and contribute greatly to either Bell Labs or the world as a whole.
Yeah. Another one of his values here is play over productivity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that one?
Conceptually, yes. I think that, but I think that one feeds the other. I think play makes you productive, because the way that I've learned to
let's define
play is play is the exploration of possibilities.
Okay.
So it's that in that zone of play is where you're challenging your thought, you're challenging what you know, but you're also getting better. It's that place where you're, especially with other people, like when you're playing with somebody else, you're exploring the terrain of what you can and can't do under a given set of rules. So that's the way that I've like adapted my understanding of play. And when you do that in a space where you're challenged but you're also succeeding enough, it becomes fun. And play can become fun that way.
And then they can build off each other. Yeah. And you can see a lot of success.
Yeah, but kids play a lot because they need to understand the world,
social
and what
dynamics.
They do. Yeah. So like, you're wrestling with, kids, or you're playing house, or you're playing a game, playing pretend, all these different things to kind of push your brain. When we get older, we think we know things, so we stop playing. But it's, I think, the key to discovery and understanding in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one was depth over publication count.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really a tagline for his entire life, right? Like, he didn't need to continue publishing book after book after paper. It was like, I did one or two, and they changed the course of human history. Yeah. That's good enough.
I think one of those things, kind of reverse engineering the way you approach things, is if you can, depth is an interesting thing. The way that I'm processing it from him, though, is it's the connection of ideas. If you have one idea, so one pattern, this is the way that I'm thinking of defining an idea. If you have one idea that can account for multiple ideas and enable multiple ideas, then there's a depth to that idea.
Oh, okay.
It's supporting the other ideas. And so one thing that we said is he introduced multiple concepts that were really, really profound. It's like through one paper, it's like, okay, that framework allows us to do more things, and so there's a depth to it.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. Interpretation.
Yeah. So that's just a thought there. And then there's mathematical rigor over verbal argument. And then privacy over fame.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something he holds personally that a lot of other people would probably choose differently.
Yeah. And then the one that's really interesting is just the boundary between fields over the center of any one.
Yeah, being able to be multidisciplinary and to pull from the things that you like from these other spots to, combine them. I do think there is a level of depth you need to be able to fluidly go between these two, disciplines. But it doesn't mean you need to be a PhD to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think oftentimes when you're a PhD, you're going too far in one field, and you might miss the view of the whole field. But then also the depth of, or I think depth can come from standing on the boundaries of different fields. But I think that also requires knowing where a field starts and where it ends, so that way you can be on the field. And I think it also means having the courage to take one idea and apply it in a new area, and then communicate that, share that with the world.
Or at least find a way that they do match up together, because sometimes they don't. But finding those really interesting ways that you can synergize these two seemingly different things is a powerhouse.
So here's some beliefs that come up right here, that like mental models that basically that we can operate off of. If you can quantify it, you can engineer it. How do you feel about that one?
If you can quantify it, you can engineer it. I mean, I'm sure there's some edge cases where that's not true, but it's an interesting mindset to have, where it's like everything can be solved.
Well, here's some ideas right here. So it's like, so anytime we're doing something, the quantity that we're trying to move, we want to focus on the quantity that we're trying to move, not the goal, the measurement, the process. If we're improving, for instance, if we're improving onboarding, what's the unit that we're improving? Can we engineer it? Like we and you have had conversations where we were like, oh, if we look at this process right here and we just measure the throughput, we can go and tweak a certain area and then measure that and just see what.
Well, at least we know what the bottleneck would be.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk engineers the companies. I think Claude Hopkins engineered marketing and advertising by measuring it. He's like test, which implies a certain level of measurement.
What do you mean by engineering? It's like...
But then from there you can develop clever solutions to and problem solve in a practical way. That's what I'm.
Once you're measuring it.
Once you're measuring it. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm saying engineering. Is you can create these practical solutions in like a clever way. And it ends up becoming clever, but it's really just about being able to create practical solutions to problems. But measurement is a requirement before doing that.
Measure what matters. The things that can get improved get measured.
Like you think about it, he was a communication engineer. So what he was doing is like he was working at this communication place. You
mean a prompt engineer?
And so it's like, but even with that, it's like, okay, how are we measuring the effectiveness of our prompts?
Right.
And back then, it's like, okay, well, people are talking over these analog phones. How are we engineering a better way of doing this for our company? And he was like, well, let's define what's getting communicated across, and let's make sure that we can do it in the lossless or
as lossless as possible.
And then do that. And it's like, it's so interesting. Even if you're not like a big tech person, I mean, at this point you're probably down the rabbit hole, like if you're with us. But for people that aren't, it's when you think about lossless audio, like that's a communication problem. How do you get this file, this sound over to somebody else without losing any of the music? If two fields ignore each other, then breakthroughs live where two fields ignore each other.
It definitely feels weird that the world was like, oh yeah, electrical engineering and math are different. You know what I mean? When like the first thing you learn in electrical engineering is how to do the math. It's like the first thing you learn is ohms and volts and watts. But they're different disciplines. And so I think there is a lot of value in that, where your passions meet. There's a lot of profit.
When you think about breakthrough, it's like you're breaking through to another field. There's I guess like an image that sits in my head with that. What do you think is being missed right now?
From where?
In terms of like two fields not being next to each other.
There's two fields that are not being next to each other.
That are ignoring each other.
Yeah. Do you have any off the top of your head?
No, I can't really think of one.
I'm trying to think of like.
I need to get my Claude Shannon on.
I think maybe I don't know if it's the fields that are ignoring each other, but it's certainly the incentives that are ignoring each other in terms of like the medical research that we have in the country and the medical breakthroughs that are happening. I mean, we've spent almost $1 trillion on trying to cure cancer and haven't done it yet. You know, it's like
something missing.
Yeah, it feels like we need to have a breakthrough somewhere in the medical research. Maybe that's pulling in other disciplines. Maybe it's pulling in other areas of study that can help us with these breakthroughs. But it does feel like we're spending a lot of money and time and effort without breakthroughs in that specific cancer research space.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Maybe it's just that hard of a problem to solve. But
yeah, it's like, I guess part of it is part of it is like almost taking concepts and seeing what other fields don't utilize the concepts as much as they should. And I think that there's a lot to be gained from that. I mean, that framework might be the thing that allows for more of that to be seen. But I don't know, off the top of my head, I can't really think.
I mean, the only thing that's really solid off the top of my head is like the amount of friction it takes to start a business online. That's the thing that we can help you with, that nobody else can help you with. That I'm sure other people can't help you with it. So they've put it together, but not in the way that we've done it.
Well, you know, actually, now that I say this, I would say that the starting a business is the idea that offers are still very, very underutilized in the job market. Like, people don't really understand
in the world.
Yeah, and I think really pushing that there's a huge opportunity there. I mean, we've kind of like looked and been like, okay, if AI is going to be in the space, there's going to be a huge job shift in the way that people make money. And so I think that making money, jobs aren't the only way to make money, is something that is not really understood in the job market, but it's understood in the entrepreneurial market.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't understand, that, oh, I can make the money doing, like, following my interests and like my passions and stuff like that, like you're saying. I think what's also interesting is just the communication around that, and how there's still this like adaptation process and people understanding that. But yeah, that's one thing there where it's like not mathematical fields, but it is something where
I'm not sure which fields those are, but like it's concepts that
like the concept of an offer is something that a lot of people don't really understand that they can do to
I
earn.
don't think people understand that they're accepting and denying offers every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know what field of study that would be technically. To combine it with
labor market.
Is that a field of study? I don't know.
Like the job market,
economics maybe, of like offers. Like, what's an offer? You know, it's like you're making and you're accepting and denying offers every single day. You might as well make them work for you.
It's an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, exactly. Find the offer that nobody can refuse. An offer that, and we help you do that.
Yeah. And then there's to make the work playful, the work gets done.
I like that.
Which, to put it in a more like of a context, I think it's if you make the work
not a chore.
If you make it something of an exploration exercise, and less of a do what I say, then it will feel like less of like a chore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then if you stay small, you can stay small while your ideas stay big.
That's a contradiction for a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to be big.
Yeah. With
their idea, and he's unique in that sense, where it's like, nah, my idea can be big. I don't need to be attached to that.
Yeah. And then here's another one too. If money is a side hustle, you don't have. If money is a side effect of clear thinking, you don't have to chase it.
That's interesting. I like the sentence, but I don't like the implication.
Okay, go ahead.
I love the sentence because it's simple, it's clear, it's pretty straightforward. The implication I don't like is that if I'm not rich, I'm not a clear thinker.
If I'm not rich, I'm not a clear thinker. If I'm not rich,
I don't know if I like the implication as much as I like the statement. I like the statement a lot.
Or it implies that if you are rich, then you are
a clear thinker. Exactly. It's like a lot of rich people are not very clear thinkers.
Yeah, that's true. But there, I think there is.
They definitely have a clarity of thought.
Yeah.
Which allows them to capture value, which is money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily true, even though I do like the statement. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be necessarily true in every scenario. He's allowed to have his own opinions, just like we are on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
cool. But I got nothing else.
No, this was great, especially because Claude isn't or wasn't a very large business mogul.
Yeah.
You know, he's not one of these billionaire corporations that we've studied in the past on this podcast. And so I think applying some of these tactics and things to your daily life and to your business, I think we did a good job of like actually pulling up the value there.
Yeah, 100%. I think that he's not the founder in the sense of business, but he's a founder in the sense of just ideas that change the world. He's found something that is unifying, that is remarkable, and will carry on throughout history.
One last comment.
Yes. So somebody that I think is that's like actually doing something that Claude Shannon did, kind of standing at the borders of different areas, is Tom Metaharmony.
Who's Tom?
Well, Tom is a musician genius musician who is on Constance.
Ayo.
But no, he has unified 3 different fields. One being music, the other being color theory, and the other being geometry.
Yep.
And he's basically pulled this into a way that's digestible, that makes sense, and the pattern overlap is incredible. Like, it's brought a visual to music that is hard to articulate, but it's very easy to see once you see it. And so that's something that I think kind of speaks to that whole idea of sitting on the boundaries of these different fields and, you know, pulling things together. So
yeah, and if anyone's listening who wants to take a look at some of that stuff, or is just interested in learning music and, you know, could never have done it, or maybe you did it in the past and want to relearn it, Constance.com/Tom.
Constance.com/Tom.
Yes.
If you want to learn more about founders, Constance.com/Founders Drive.
Yes.
And if you want to go and start your own personal brand, if you want to go and start your own online business, if you want to make money, if you're like, hey, I should be making more money right now, but I don't know how, or I don't know where to start, go to Constance.com. We'll take care of you. We're going to make sure that you get an offer that's aligned with your interests, your income, or your skills and your experience, and you'll be on your way
to making income.
Yes, to making income. I was getting ahead of myself.
I was
like, oh man, they're going to be making so much money. I got to get right to it. But yeah, check it out. Check us out. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.